Today we are here to do my last mid-month check-in for 2022. It's hard to believe, and it's also not been as productive. Well, that's not the right way to frame that, Mara. I've not read as much as I normally would, and I haven't gotten through some of the things that I was thinking I was going to get through before this point in the year, but I have read when I felt like reading, and I have not read when I have not felt like reading, and we celebrated the holidays early in my family, so I had a few days where I was home for Christmas, and therefore wasn't doing a ton of reading, and yeah, all in all, not as prolific of a reading time as I would normally expect, but that's fine. And I have read some things that I definitely really liked, and I've also read some things that were a little not as great. So yeah, I think today will probably mostly be me talking about what I'm hoping to read for the rest of the month, / like celebrating the fact that it's mood reading season here at Books Like Whoa, because I am very busy in December getting all of the lists up, all of my year-end lists, and so therefore I don't typically kind of like set challenges that I'm working on at this point. Like, I'm not working on a bunch of vlogs or reading challenges or whatever. Like, this is very much back to basics mood reading, and I find that the week leading up to Christmas and after Christmas tend to be super quiet at work, so I'm able to, you know, have a lot more energy for reading by the end of the day. So yeah, anyway, I'm kind of rambling, but let's just get into what I've read, what I'm currently reading, and what I might read next. Same old, same old. Okay, in terms of things that I've read that I'm not going to talk to you about now, but I'll talk to you about at the end of the month, I did read Cain's Jawbone. I guess this is one of the exceptions to vlogging. I am vlogging my attempts to solve this literary puzzle from 1934. I understand now why I think only 5 people since 1934 have ever solved this fully, because holy crap. It's a very tricky thing. I've been doing a lot of research, I've been doing a lot of underlining and tabbing, and I'm gonna give it my best faith attempt, but we'll see. So that's a surprise. I'll talk about that at the end of the month. And then Blood of Dragons is a hit, but I will mention that this is a Harper Voyager release, and I accidentally posted a review on Goodreads, I forgot, but I am doing my best not to cross the Harper Collins Union picket line, so I am not reviewing books from HarperCollins right now. I'm still reading them and buying them because the union folks who are on strike have said to still do that to support the authors, but I am not reviewing these. So this is a hit, but you won't get to hear my thoughts until the strike is over, so come on, HarperCollins, play ball. I put The Drift by C.J. Tudor as a surprise. I read that. So we'll talk more about that at the end of the month. And then Bright and Deadly Things by Lexi Elliott. Right now I have listed as a disappointment. Not terrible, but was a little disappointing. So we'll talk about that at the end of the month. Okay, things I can tell you about. Whites on Race and Other Falsehoods by Otega Uwagba. This is a essay basically that she wrote after the murder of George Floyd in 2020, and it is specifically about confronting the idea of whiteness. This is a very confrontational little essay. So if you are precious or fragile in your whiteness, you are not gonna like this. This made me think about, I know that there's a lot of discourse about the book White Fragility, and I do understand it, but to give people context, like in our corporate DEI group that I'm in, we were trying to use White Fragility for something, and one of the dudes on the call was like, I stopped reading that. I stopped reading it in the prologue because, like, I don't want to read a book that's saying that I'm racist. And I'm like, cognitive dissonance, my friend. Any kind of self-awareness in this moment. Can you? So I would say, all that to say, I don't think that this is an essay that is going to meet somebody who is at that phase of deconstructing their white privilege in a very good place. So I would not recommend it to those people. But if you are, not that I'm like, whatever, but if you're further along in that journey and you're more willing to just like sit with the fact that you were born into a privileged class, then I would commend this to you, because I think it is very thought-provoking, well-written, but obviously a tough read because of the subject matter and just because of it's a more kind of like confrontational tone, but in a really great way, I think. So this was, I think I got this at the beginning of the year because I saw several people who read this last year and really liked it. and when it was first coming out. So I finally got around to that, just threw it on the ground accidentally. Apparently I've reached a phase in my reading life where I just cannot keep my hands on books when I'm holding them because I am dropping them left, right, and center. When She's Married by Ruby Dixon, I thought was a really lovely sci-fi romance for the holidays. It's very, I think it captures the feeling of loneliness at Christmas in a really nice way and talking about finding community in the midst of that. So it was a surprise. It was on my radar. I didn't know it was coming out, but it was a surprise holiday release from Ruby Dixon in her Rizdaverse series. So it is set back on Rizda, and it is one of the custodians having a romance with one of the human farmers who have been resettled to Rizda, and she is trying to help an older human woman who is experiencing like really extreme depression. So to cheer her up, because it's becoming winterish time on Rizda, she's like, oh, we can do a Christmas. We can pick a day to be Christmas and we'll do it. And it's about them trying to make Christmas for her together. So I thought that it was like a really lovely little between short story and novella that was a nice entry into the Rizdaverse series, and just like a great sci-fi romance for the holiday season. I do love a holiday novella, so I'm probably predisposed to like it for that reason. And then guys, I need you to be proud of me right now because I actually finished The Mark of Athena. Pause for applause. Finally did it. It's only taken a year. I will say that I can't totally tell because of how I ended up reading it, if it's completely the book or just me. I did find the pacing in the middle to be a little repetitious. It felt a little samey, but I will say that I really loved getting a point of view from Annabeth, and I really loved the way it ended. Like the whole conclusion of this middle chapter of the Heroes of Olympus series, oh my gosh, like it ends on such a cliffhanger that makes me more excited to pick the next one up. I am planning to be done with the Heroes of Olympus by February. That is the plan. I've got to do it because I keep putting it off, and it's on the plan, and I need to just execute against that plan. So I may go ahead and get started. I think the next one is like the Son of Hades or the Hero of Hades. I think the next one is basically Nico's book, which makes sense based on where this book ended. So I'm really excited to see what happens, and I may go ahead over the holiday, like the last couple weeks of the year, I may go ahead and read that so that I can finish it in January and be proud of myself that I finally finished the series that I've been really enjoying. So anyway, I was very proud that I finally read The Mark of Athena, guys. I gave it 3.5 stars. It wasn't the best, I think, in the series or in the Percy Jackson overall interconnected series that I've read so far. So I wouldn't put it at the top, but it was still very enjoyable. And I do definitely think that I should say the Heroes of Olympus reads much more like YA than middle grade to me. And I do think it's interesting exploring like what about his writing works better for me in middle grade versus YA, because I do think it's a little bit different. But anyway, that was definitely a big, I feel like that was an accomplishment that I finally went ahead and did that. So, and then the last thing I read was, I finally finished Beyond Good and Evil by Nietzsche. I started that at the beginning of the year, and I was doing that as a buddy read with Jess, and then that kind of fell off because just schedules didn't work. So I finally finished it, and I like it. Not my favorite philosophical work I've ever read, but I do love how shady he is to Kant in particular. But in general, he has a very, how to say, like playful is the word I want to use, and I'm not sure that's quite right, but he's not too self-serious in his work, which I appreciate in a philosophical tome. So I appreciated that, and it definitely had some interesting things to say. And it is interesting getting more from like the horse's mouth, because I've never read a full Nietzsche before. Like I've read a lot of kind of like sections from some of his bigger things. So it was nice kind of seeing a full book from him. So yeah, not my favorite thing ever, but I'm glad I finally finished it. And it's good to have finally finished a book from Nietzsche. I would read something else. So we'll see. Maybe I'll read something else from him in the future. But yeah, so in terms of what I'm currently reading, am I technically currently reading anything? I started A Most Peculiar Book as audio. I think I'm about a third of the way through that when I was driving to and from the holiday celebrations with my family. And yeah, so far it's interesting. It's basically about like the weirdness of the Bible, particularly the Hebrew Bible. So what Christians would call the Old Testament, and what Jews would call the Hebrew Bible. So yeah, I think that so far good, but not necessarily particularly memorable. But it works pretty well as audio, and it's a topic I'm interested in. So yeah, so far so good. And then let's talk about what I might read for the rest of the month. So I've already picked out my Christmas TBR. So this is what I'm reading like up and around Christmas. Once things get quiet, guys, I'm gonna settle in and treat myself to Blitz by Daniel O'Malley, which is the most recent addition in his Check A File series. There's only been a couple of these. I really loved The Rook. That's like a top 20 book for me. I absolutely love that book, but did not necessarily like Stiletto as much. So I'm interested to see how we do with this. I believe it's a dual timeline, one of which is during World War II in London, and the other of which is like present day. So I have no idea how I'll do with it, but it's nice and chunky, and this is what I'm gonna settle in with over Christmas for sure. And then I have two mysteries because to me, Christmas feels cozy and feels like a time for mystery. So The Twyford Code, which is by Janice Hallett, who wrote The Appeal, which I did quite enjoy earlier this year. I picked this up because I saw that my book twin, Meg with Books, that she was enjoying it, and she liked this way better than The Appeal. And I already liked The Appeal. So I'm optimistic that I'm going to end up really enjoying this. So I had to get this from Book Depository because it was like hella expensive in the US for some reason. But the other one that I would like to read over Christmas is The Christmas Murder Game by Alexandria Benedict. And does this have like clues and stuff in it? I don't. Okay, yeah. There is a game within a game in this book. So I think that might be kind of fun, and it's set at Christmas, and it's murderousness, and that just sounds wonderful. So that, I have been holding those three books, like they've been sitting over here on the shelf for a while, because I'm like, that is what I'm reading for Christmas. So that's the plan there. A couple of other ones that I think I may work in. Like I said, I may read the next in the Heroes of Olympus series if I get the urge to do that. The Mimicking of Known Successes by Malka Older, since I have it in physical form, I may pick this up. I should say this, I have this as an arc, and I have a few other arcs for January and February I still need to read. So I'm looking over here at the list. How to Sell a Haunted House. I started, but I definitely want to finish because that comes out in January, and I was enjoying what I read of it so far, so that bodes well. The Spite House by Johnny Compton, I think is the author. That is a kind of horror thriller type book. So that comes out in February. I might read that. The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz, I think is the author, is an isolated close circle thriller, I believe, set at a writing retreat. So that could be something I read. And then Cold-Blooded Liar by Karen Rose is her most recent romantic suspense release that comes out in February. So all that to say, I might read any of those, and then also The Mimicking of Known Successes. That's kind of what's on my radar for advanced reader copies in December. And then two middle grade YA fantasy things that feel cozy and like something I might want to read. A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. I would like to read this because then I will have read three from this author this year, and I can officially say if she's like a new favorite or not. So far I think she is, but this is going to be my, hopefully if I like this, I will officially give her that. And if I don't end up liking it, I'll have to go on to one of the other ones that I have from her to see if we can get to that status officially. But I have that on my radar, as well as Amari and the Great Game by B.B. Alston. I would like to go ahead and catch up with this series. This is the most recent entry, and it would be nice to go ahead and stay caught up with it, as opposed to letting myself get super behind, which sometimes I do. So there's all of that. There's some like sci-fi romance things that I'm thinking of reading. I know Honey Phillips has a couple of holiday themed sci-fi romances. So I think one is called A Touch of Frost or something. It's the most recent one in her. She had two like Krampus ones this couple of years, and it's the third in that series. So I think that would be good. I think she had one called Senta that maybe I'll read. There's a bunch of different ones I've seen pop up on Kindle Unlimited that maybe I'll get to. And then I have a project I'm working on. And I don't know if I'm going to actually progress on it in December. I may wait till January, but if I get in the mood to make progress on that project, then I might do that in December. But definitely in January, that will be one of the main things that I'm doing. So yeah, I think that's where I'm at. Hopefully lots of mood reading. That's my number one hope for my end of the year reading, is that I allow myself to mood read as much as I would like and just feel zero guilt about it. And to, I don't know, enjoy the coziness of this time of year. Like I said, for me, this is a wonderful time of year because at work, things are so slow. And because, well, I don't know, dispositionally / because of my autoimmune disease, I just get really worn out by work normally. So even when I'm off in the evening, sometimes I'm really tired and it's difficult to like want to do things. So part of what I really enjoy about this time of year is that because it's really quiet at work, I can actually really recharge and really just like recharge for the year. It feels like my time where I catch up on rest, where I like reset coming into a new year. So for me, it's a very wonderful time of self-indulgent mood reading, lots of sleeping and naps, snuggling with the kitties. I'm gonna make boeuf bourguignon for either Christmas Eve or Christmas, because that's what I usually do. And I enjoy that like leisurely cooking experience. I'm gonna do like cleanup projects around the house that I've been putting off. Like, it's just gonna be a lovely time. So I always vlog that week. So if you guys want to see what I end up getting up to, you can check that out whenever it comes out. Yeah, I'm rambling now. Look for more lists like whoa, because that is a big thing that's happening for me. So we'll have more best of the year lists coming at you in the next couple of weeks, and I will be doing lots of mood reading. So let me know what you thought about any of the books that I talked about today, and let me know if you've got any big reading plans for the rest of the year. If there's any like books you're trying to sneak in before the end of 2022, let me know that in the comments below. And yeah, I think that will do it for this video. So if you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you're so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and I think that that will do it. I hope you're having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye!